Luciano and the others to give me the option of being a madman or something else, because it's the first time I've been given a choice. I'm from Canmore and grew up in Montreal and now in Toronto. And it's, in Canmore the bridge is broken and we 2-minute wait because the bridge is broken. We're really getting angry. And here, I had to come from Mississauga tonight to come here. It's I'd like to. I have a lot of people here tonight with me. I mean, I brought some people from Canmore. My wife Paula, my daughter Tristan. Or not my daughter Tristan didn't come from Canmore, but she came from Edmonton. I've also got a bunch of Toronto people here, like most of the Montreal diaspora. My sister Penny
Drunkard.
And her husband Frank. My son Josh and his wife Lulu. My niece and nephew Lisa and Alvaro with an A, who did the beaver, which everybody is now saying, is that your eyes? No, mine are closer than the beaver. My other niece and nephew from Toronto, Jason and Carrie Lee, and my sister Penny and Frank, and I think I've got everybody. And thank you especially to Quattro Books, and to, I had always thought it was Luciano because Luciano's the guy I always talked to and occasionally was furious at and was occasionally very happy with, but it's great to have a guy. I'm not a person who likes people to tell me what to do, and to have a guy who would tell you what to do and then you agreed with it was wonderful, even though that's the good part about email is that they don't hear all the swearing. But I mean, Luciano did. I mean, he took this book and said, "Here's what it's about," and told me so. So, Surrender by Luciano Iacovelli. Frenchman's Creek lingers on the last trace of the prairies, a tendril nudging uncertainly into the Rocky Mountains, postscript rather than herald. Passers-by ignore us, tucked away as we are behind the gas station and the abandoned motel, satellite dish rusting in lonely vigil. At one end of the welcoming strip is a giant wooden teepee crumbling as its dream of welcoming tourist throngs fades. The street heads modestly into town. At the far side, it ends abruptly at the creek, facing the remnants of the bridge built to bury campers to the now remote island campground. Weekend nights in our bucolic setting are not as serene as you might expect, but are interrupted by drunken arguments, pickups racing up and down the street, and by campers frustrated at the inaccessibility of the campground, parking on the edge of town, building bonfires, digging latrines, joining locals in their nighttime pursuits. During one such weekend of rustic revelry, the town leaders resolved to carve a ski hill into the side of Raven Mountain, sacred burial ground for the previous 10,000 years, looming behind. As the night progressed, the scheme became more grandiose then, and the following weeks took flight. But our conspiracy to rise from the flats, to be transformed from 2 dimensions to 3, brought us to the attention of the gods. On the ski hill's opening day, students from our local school shouldered their wrath. After boarding the chairlift, one student, then 13, began to rock their chairs as they pitched ever more violently. The cable first came off its rollers, then rebounded upwards. According to local reports, the students were then slingshot 60 feet into the air. The ski hill closed, but the trails left their scar, the shape of a pitchfork aimed down our throats, pinning us to the ground evermore. Giant teepees, derelict dishes, unwanted campgrounds, ill-advised ski hills, dashed dreams. Perhaps the land is cursed. The natives who first inhabited the land avoided the flats, sending here only young men on vision quests or crossing it on their way to leave their dead on the mountainside. The first Europeans to settle were 2 dairy farmers from France, Francois and Pierre Chouaret. Soon after their arrival, Francois began hearing voices in his sleep. His dead parents appeared in his dreams, ordering him to kill his brother. "He is the spirit of evil," they shouted. "He is building a machine with which to murder you." It was self-defense, Francois claimed, in one of his few lucid moments during his trial. He had driven an axe into his brother's head with such force that it entered even his neck. Frenchman's Creek is located over a fault in the Earth's crust. Faults produce magnetic forces that disrupt the patterns in the brain and lead to madness. The more spiritually inclined believe that the fault allows forces confined deep within the Earth's core access to the surface. One way or the other, those who live over faults are prone to bizarre behavior. Consider the Balkans, werewolves, and vampires. We in Frenchman's Creek have not as yet suffered centuries of internecine warfare. Instead, we have dreams and visions. As a young boy, I suffered from the most terrible of nightmares until one night early in my teen years, a young native girl came to me in my sleep. Red Flower sang to me each night, quieting the terrible visions, allowing me peace at last. I'd even begun to look forward to sleep, to my other life, to my spirit-guided dream world. There must have been a dream. Often I awake with the dreams, with the remnants of a dream tantalizing me, but when I try to grasp its tail, it slips away. I've been left not with remnants, but only with a blinding truth. Red Flower had left me with one thing I know now as surely as a Calvinist eating a deep-fried Mars bar knows. If I keep eating these things, it'll be the death of me. Except for me, there's no if, and I don't get to eat a deep-fried Mars bar. I'm going to be blown up in an elevator. I'm in an elevator. There's a light, a bang as a bomb goes off, and that's it, except for my last words, which are, "Oh crap." You're probably thinking, why don't you just take the stairs, stupid? Unfortunately, that's where the dragons are. I would end up in this weird kind of limbo with all the unbaptized babies, not exactly the best of company. I'll just ride the elevator and take my chances, thanks anyways. When I was driving home that day, I saw a sign outside a funeral home. Free will kit available at the office. The irony of that brought my second revelation. At some point in our lives, each of us loses any vestige of free will. Before that time, we're able to live out our lives, happily or not, making decisions that affect the course of our lives. Then, at some moment, we lose our freedom. Whether we know it or not, we become Calvinists. From then on, our lives are predetermined. I was going to walk into an elevator and get blown up. I had no choice in the matter. It was in God's hands. Revelation 3 arrived courtesy of one of those corny church signs, you know the ones. Life is the moment we are living right now. Supposedly inspirational, it was true in a way, but only cruelly so. I didn't need reminding that my life was now nothing more than a series of disconnected moments, all heading in the same direction, bringing me to my one pure moment, the one where I say, "Oh crap." When I'm not busy, I watch gophers. I've become so interested in them that I put them on our school website. They come out of their holes and smile when you pet them with a cursor. I wanted to be able to whack the gophers on the head with a club to move from page to page on the screen, but my school counselor said it wouldn't fit into the virtues program. Because she's almost a psychologist and you never know what she's thinking, I agreed. It's bad enough as it is. She's always giving me these looks. I'd like to ask her why, but I have a feeling it might be a mistake, so I just smile back, but not in a weird way. The playground outside my window is covered with gopher holes. I'm supposed to call the Terminator to deal with the problem when it gets to be this bad, but I've been procrastinating. Then one day, a gopher-eating badger showed up. At first it seemed as though my problem had solved itself. However, kids like to poke things down holes. All well and good when it's just gophers. If a child were to poke a stick down a badger hole, though, according to my secretary, Joni, who should know being from the country and all, they'd be asking for some foul-smelling, bad-tempered, ill-intentioned rodent to come charging up from the bowels of the earth after the mayhem on his mind. I reluctantly phoned the Terminator. He said that because the badgers were there only to eat the gophers, he would get rid of the gophers. This scenario sounded convoluted to me. Get rid of 100 gophers, get rid of hundreds of gophers to eliminate one badger? Why not get rid of whatever it is the gophers eat, and then in turn what they eat, and then just go all the way back and destroy the sun like some crazy evil scientist? The Terminator had a short memory, was just plain lazy, or had been annoyed by my crazy evil scientist comments, because he never showed up. Unfortunately for the gophers, they had been observed. Other predators, first hawks, then ravens, began to gather above them. While I was listening to my secretary Joni do announcements one day, I watched a magpie hop over beside a couple of baby gophers cavorting in the sun and snatch one up. The universe is like that, isn't it? One moment, the little baby gophers were innocently playing in the sun, their whole lives strung out before them in an endless, joyful vista, then a slight change of pitch, and their magpie's lunch. If someone had asked me what I was doing at that nearly pure instant, I could have said that I was watching a magpie catch a gopher. I could even say, I live for moments like this because sometimes I don't. Thank you. Just the parts about the gophers and the dreams.
Thank you, Peter. That was great. Actually, my understanding is that your book is based on a dream you had, where you dreamt that you were exploded in that elevator.
Exploded.
Exploded.
No, it is true. I mean, I never had any pretensions to be an author. And I woke up one day and elbowed Paul and said, Paul, I'm going to write a book. I had a dream that I'm getting blown up in an elevator. It's true. And I wrote the book in like 15 minutes, and then before he got his hands on it, I spent 4 years editing it. And then, like at one point, it was like 60,000 words, I think. And then Josh, my son, edited it. He's like, get rid of all the words. Well, Luciano got all of it.
It's an explosive book, anyways. The writing is explosive. All right. All right. Well, let's move on. And the next book and author I'm going to introduce is the book is entitled In the Mind's Eye by